Okay, we're recording.
It's at.
All right, we ready?
We're ready. Okay, I'll find it.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello. I'm Troy. I think we're live. I don't really have a good indication of that, but that's my own fault. So, good morning, if only barely. This that you're looking at, I'm Troy Davis, by the way. Oh, thanks, Jason.
No problem.
Yay. So I'm mic'd up. The reason you can't see me is a long audio-visual tale, but what I'm going to run through is...
I hate Ustream, they always do that to you.
What's the score?
I don't know, I wasn't even watching this, whatever their default thing.
Oh, thanks.
Do you want it?
Sure, why not?
All right, cool.
By the way, a shout out to Ben, who has the most amazing mobile audio video setup I've ever seen, at least like on a personal basis. I think you could start a video studio with this stuff.
There you go.
All right.
I really like it.
So what you're looking at, let's see if I'm going to move a little bit here.
Just move your mouse all the way to the right and
Okay.
be on the projector.
Perfect. So we occasionally have a need to test adhesion apps and specifically test it from the perspective of Asterisk. So make an incoming fast AGI connection and then ideally actually run through a couple steps or even a full application. So the normal way that that I've seen people test, I hate to say it, is an actual call in and, can you hear me now? Go through the steps, press 1, and actually do a manual test. And that gets really old really fast. So our first version of a standalone AGI tester just did a basic TCP connection and then issued, sent AGI headers. And if you've seen a fast AGI connection or a fast CGI connection, you're probably pretty used to what this looks like. It's just a bunch of request response headers. And I'm going to scroll down and show an example of some defaults here. There we go. This hash is a set of fairly reasonable defaults for an incoming phone call coming from Asterisk to Adhesion. And each of these keys gets prefixed by AGI underscore. So like AGI underscore network, yes, request, and the URL, and so on. There's a couple that are really important. There's a path, which is the actual path to it. And then, actually I'll keep scrolling here in a sec, you can see a few important fields, the dialed number identifier, if there is a caller ID name that can be provided, and the CID itself, the asterisk channel ID. So where this gets more interesting is we pull out from the URL that's provided on the command line, we pull out the network script. And that's analogous to the path in a traditional like HTTP GET, and end up connecting right here. And this is just a totally basic standalone script. There's some refactoring that it could definitely benefit from. Send the keys, wait a bit, and then this is where it gets fun. So as part of AdhearsionConf, I extended it to go through and actually simulate step by step what an asterisk phone call would do. So this is a very early start at automated black box testing from the asterisk perspective. And what you're seeing is when that AGI connection is first made, the receiver, so the asterisk server sends all the headers, the AGI script, in this case adhesion, responds with answer. Asterisk responds with, just like HTTP, a 200 result code, and then an actual output, which is 0 in this case. And then the commands just start. A couple things that are noteworthy here. Adhesion doesn't block waiting for this reply. So if we read more than 6 digits, or 6 characters I should say, after the answer, we'll end up getting the next command. Which it's an implementation decision. I don't think the protocol for fast AGI, or really for AGI, is so well defined that it says, you should do this or you shouldn't. So this isn't a dig on adhesion at all. and then, hey, let's send this. Then for the next step, we're going to expect a text-to-speech command, and we're going to give it a regex instead of a string. And then between what we expect back, the command that's coming from Adhesion, and then what we send as the asterisk server, the result of that command, we're going to wait for 20 seconds, as if asterisk was processing it or speaking it to the customer, or to the caller rather. And you can kind of see how easy this would be to make it into a load tester. You know, at a very basic level, without event machine or anything non-blocking, you could run 30 or 40 of these, and as long as the call was long enough that they didn't terminate before the new ones had fully established, you'd be live. And then here's a couple other examples. So if you want to test for get variable or for another command, some various results. And then here is where it actually gets run, which there's not a lot to it. I mean, it's a TCP server, or TCP client rather. This is probably the closest thing to what it should eventually be. So clearly this is one file, and it's not nearly standalone enough. Like in Utopia, you'd have your assertions, and you'd have your list of commands that you want to have run through, and maybe even a little bit of automagic defaults. So if you say, you know, get variable, it could generate what that response variable is. So let's actually run it.
You want to need a terminal?
Just terminal. Whoops. It's no fun if I don't get to relearn OS X in the process of presenting.
All right. That's
Yay!
Big.
This is terminal for the blind.
Yeah, I can actually read that now. Online, you can actually read it.
Oh, is it really? Wow. Score.
Okay.
Okay, so with a couple caveats here, I've been modifying this in the last 24 hours. And so for a demo, that's kind of like, you're doomed. The question is not whether this is going to fail,
And
it's
we're running
how.
from trunk on Adhesion.
And we're running from trunk on Adhesion on a box I've never used before, with files copied not via Git, but via thumb drive. So it's a recipe for success. And am I in that directory?
You are in the Adhesion
Adhesion. Okay, cool. Where's it mounted?
volumes.
Perfect. Yay. Geek stick. So this is up on GitHub on Gist, the asterisk AGI test. I'll give the URL at the end. But what you've got there is a standalone Adhesion app, which is the one that Jay showed on the screen yesterday, that just checks a Twitter URL, pulls down the Twitter JSON feed, and speaks the last tweet text. So we're going to start that, or I should say we're going to try to start that on Adhesion Head.
I don't think I have the gem installed.
Okay. Oh, whoops. Just absolute path. You want to toss it in there?
I'll just install real quick.
Cool.
There.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
I love having to look around the column
Isn't
every
that
time.
great?
Yeah, sweet.
For those of you not here in person and on the video stream, there's a column, like a 2x2 foot concrete column between us and the screen. So every time one of us ducks off the screen, that's why.
You're actually just dodging the tomato.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. You should be able to start that.
Excellent.
I hope.
Thanks, Ben.
Okay.
Cross your fingers. Okay.
Open and through.
Yay! So we now have an Adhesion app running, and I'm going to background this. I'm not going to background this. There we go. So that's running. I'm going to show the dial plan. It's a really basic dial plan. This is up on GitHub. If you search for Mars Phoenix or Phoenix Lander, you'll see it. I've changed the URL because Adhesion might scale, but Twitter won't. So if I try to request a whole bunch of Twitter feeds, you know, it's likely to fail. So this is just a static URL to a saved copy of the latest Mars Phoenix Twitter feed. And then the whole command, or the whole string, is to execute Swift, which is a text-to-speech engine, and then hang up. So that's running. We're going to try this. Whoops. And the arguments that it takes are basically an AGI URL, and then anything you want to override or add to the query params that are sent to the adhesion server. So we're going to do AGI, and it's running on the default port 4573. So we're going to send it to localhost, and cross your fingers.
Is this all local?
This is all local right now, except that it is hitting my server for the JSON.
Nothing's going out to EC2 or anything?
Nothing going out to EC2. Actually, this is all grid hosted. You just can't see it. It's in the cloud. Sorry. So what you're looking at here is the first response there, the past, is it expected answer after sending the fast AGI headers. It received the AGI headers, or received answer rather, so that passed. It then expected exec Swift and a regex that was, hey, there's a string in there, and that passed. And then finally, it failed on hangup, and let's see if it says why. So we threw an exception. I'm guessing, and this goes back to my beta amusement, that that's actually more a new line issue where there's an extra new line that you can't see. It expected the string hangup, and it received the string hangup, and yet they aren't the same, which leads me to believe it's something else. But the idea is, and actually, if we do this, I'll show one that succeeds. If we edit the dial plan, and we remove the call to hang up, so it's just this one adhesion, or one AGI call, and then change the test script, which, whoops, clearly this needs to be separate, closer to whether it's cucumber or shoulda or pick your poison, and we'll remove the assertion that hangup is called. And another note, if you don't have hangup in the actual code in the dial plan, it won't explicitly hang up. So there's nothing wrong with that. Again, just kind of an implementation decision. So we're going to kill that, and then we're going to restart. There we go. See, we're answering questions in real time. And we're going to restart adhesion. Ish.
I think your script is breaking my system.
I think my script is breaking your system too.
It worked before?
It did. I wonder if it's still bound and.
No, it's just slow.
Oh yeah, there we go. Cool. Aha. So, just to show an actual passing test, we're going to rerun the same test. One other thing you'll see, there you go. So this is the very simple example of how you do automated testing for an adhesion app as a black box service. And that is the entirety of my demo. Thank heavens it actually worked. The next step of this is we'll probably run this against adhesion with a whole bunch of different calls, you know, a longer 2 or 3 minute call flow, and try to do 30 or 50 or 100. And maybe do a screencast of, hey, this is the current state of things, either with, you know, MRI or JRuby or pick your poison. And this will be up.
1,000 points, 10 or 20.
20 is huge scale, Jason. That's massive. Yeah, but mostly just as a starting point. Yeah, I don't know what the breaking point is, especially, you know, obviously some of it's hardware dependent. So.
And it would be interesting to do it in terms of comparing the MRI to JRuby. And seeing what performance differences are and where things start to come
On OS
apart.
10, you can only have like 350 open ball descriptors or something like that
Oh, interesting. Per process or thread or?
per process.
Okay.
Is that not
You can just change that with the other.
Yeah.
Really? Okay. I don't know anything about that.
Okay.
On Solaris, you can get up to a couple thousand with the default setting.
Nice. So this is meant as a starting point of, hey, this is the bare minimum of what it would take to do black box testing. My next step is going to be to make it functional enough that all you have is a test that's kind of a standalone. Look, here's my assertions, and then it'll be up and go to town.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
So I guess I should do this from here. So I guess we're gonna we didn't really do our second day introduction, so I thought maybe we'd do that again. We played a little fun game last night that was a lot of fun called Werewolf, and so I think yesterday we just kind of had everybody introduce themselves and say where they're from and what company they were. And today I'd like to see everyone introduce themselves and tell us something interesting you learned yesterday. Starting with Mr.
And I'm on the
Gecky.
spot. I'm
Yep.
Jason Gecky. I learned yesterday that we are going to make components into gems.